Hey guys, welcome back to my channel McNallie Money, home of all things stock, investment, and personal finance related. Now for today's video, we've got some big news that we're going to be covering on a company that we just talked about on the channel 2 days ago. The company name is Ayurcann Holdings, and they just this morning announced that they're actually going to be opening up an e-commerce marketplace. So I wanted to talk about this news in a little bit more detail, walk you guys through how this changes my bullish thesis on the company, and then compare Ayurcann to some of the others in this space. So I'm super excited to talk about this news, you guys. Very timely. As mentioned, we just did a deep dive on this company, so take a look if you didn't get a chance to watch it already. Now, before we get into it, you guys, please take a second to smash the like button. It really does help get this content to other people like yourself who may find value. If you're not already subscribed to the channel itself, McNallie Money, feel free to do so. And let me know in the comment section below what you think of this news development, Ayurcann Holdings overall as a company, and if you're currently invested or holding shares in this company. Now without further ado, you guys, let's get right into today's video. Okay guys, so that's right. Big news out of Ayurcann today. They just launched their online MJ marketplace. Now we literally just talked about this stock. I did a deep dive company analysis only 2 days ago on the channel. And this is exactly why I love covering stocks, stock news. I'm so passionate about the stock market overall, is because it's constantly changing. There's always a new piece of information, press release, earnings, whatever the case is coming out. And it's so dynamic, it really does keep me on my toes. And it's really interesting to follow the story of these companies as they move from small cap players into big, well-established mid and large cap companies. So I wanted to get in here, cover the news today. We're going to look at the news release itself. Then we're going to talk about how this really changes the business model for Ayurcann, some of the other recent developments and synergies that I think is really going to allow this marketplace to thrive and come out of the gates swinging here. And then we're going to compare them to some of the competitors in this space and talk about why I think the Ayurcann share price could take off in a major way over the next couple of months here. So in terms of the actual news, we'll get right into it. So August 5th, this morning, they released or announced the company, being Ayurcann, has now launched the Ayurcann Marketplace, which is an online MJ marketplace for medical MJ consumers in Canada. So that's one thing to note here, you guys. This serves the medical clientele only at this point in time, but I see this really expanding and evolving into the whole adult use recreational market at some point in time here. So the press release reads, "The essence of the Ayurcann Marketplace is to provide Canadian medical MJ consumers with one of the industry's most competitively priced and best selection of high quality products, which is going to include vapes, tinctures, and topicals. To make this possible, the company is partnering with various medical MJ brands, which we're going to look at later in the video, and offering their products in a convenient online platform." Now, the online e-commerce model is something that we've seen in a number of industries. We're going to actually talk about some of the other players in the MJ space that are really navigating or shifting gears to focus on e-commerce. But I personally think this is the way of the future. The pandemic has obviously expedited the world's shift to e-commerce and self-serve. So I'm super excited to see that Ayurcann is focusing on this type of retail experience for their customers rather than getting into traditional brick and mortar type of locations. Now, in conjunction with the launch of this marketplace, Ayurcann has also announced 6 new products will be available. 4 of them are going to be under the Fuego banner, while 2 are going to be under Ayurcann's wholly owned Explore brand or banner. So the new products are broken out into vapes and tinctures. The vapes include Cherry Blossom OG, La Parte, Vinaigrade, and Wedding Crasher. Under the Explore tincture SKUs or products, we get the Explore Pure CBD and the Explore Balance. And this is a little snippet from the media release here showing the packaging and the look and feel of some of these products. Now, if you scroll down here, you can see that medical patients in Canada can actually register on the Ayurcann website. We're going to look at that platform in a second. And the company is looking to build out or launch 3 additional brands in the coming weeks. So one thing that's crucially important about these e-commerce platforms is having the selection so that customers coming to these websites can really pick and choose and have that variety that they would get at a brick and mortar location. So I was really happy to see that they're focused on this right out of the gate, and they're going to be expanding their portfolio and SKU count in a meaningful way immediately here. Now again, the goal of this marketplace is really to provide medical MJ patients with quality products at affordable prices, and Eagle Sudman, who's the CEO of Ayurcann, gives his statements or thoughts on this launch. So we saw a gap in the current system and thought there had to be a better option for these patients. We know patients and we know they prefer to transact digitally. So again, that's that shift in buying behavior that I just mentioned, while also being offered a wide range of choice at an exceptional price. So again, there we're talking about the variety of SKUs or the variety of selection available on the platform. With the launch of our marketplace, we feel we can fulfill that customer need and showcase to everyone what differentiates us from others in this space or our competition. So we talked about that in the last video here a little bit, you guys, how Ayurcann is really an up-and-comer in the post-cultivation, CPG, extraction type of space, similar to Labs, Valens, Neptune. We're gonna actually look at them compared to some of these others in terms of enterprise value to revenue later in the presentation. But this is a really strong and compelling way that they're now able to differentiate from some of those other competitors. Now, in terms of what this marketplace really provides for other LPs or licensed producers, they're going to apply to have their qualified products listed for sale, where Ayurcann will handle the customer service, online payments, and fulfillment. So in terms of B2B, this really offers a hands-off solution for other LPs in the MJ space here in Canada to get their products to market and to consumers without having a lot of the overhead or back-end headache in terms of the logistics and distribution. Now, if we jump over to the Ayurcann website, you can see front and center here, they've now got the Ayurcann marketplace over on the right-hand side of the page. On the left, you can see all their manufacturing solutions. So that was great to see that this is already up and running. Now, if we go into the Shop Now tab, you can see the various Fuego vapes listed. So the Cherry Blossom, Vinaigrette, whatever the case is, these are listed for $39.99, so $40, so very competitively priced. Awesome looking packaging here, you guys. Simple, clean, and chic. And then below that, you can see the Explore tinctures listed for $45 a piece here. And if we click in on any of the products, you can see they give additional details. The tinctures come in 30 milliliter containers or quantities, and then obviously they list the THC and CBD content within each product. Now, I also wanted to highlight the registration process. So again, on the Ayurcann website here, you guys, you do require medical documentation in order to get access to the marketplace platform. The registration process is very simple, so it's all done online here, but you would need to fax in the medical documents or upload those as part of your application. Now, one of the reasons I'm so excited about this news from Ayurcann is because we've really started to see a shift or trend in the MJ space in terms of companies going out and either creating or acquiring e-commerce platforms. So one that came to mind just recently, actually, we covered was High Tide, and they actually expanded their online or e-commerce footprint through the acquisition of DankStop. Now, this is one of many of these type of acquisitions we've seen with High Tide. I think they now own 4 or 5 of the top e-commerce platforms in the United States, but they're actually paying a very hefty price for these websites. And if you scroll down, you can see they actually paid for DankStop alone just about $4 million US. So it's a huge value add to Ayurcann that they're actually going to be developing this in-house and building out this platform from scratch rather than having to finance this through debt or issuing additional shares, which could potentially dilute existing shareholder value. And speaking of value, another thing to look at here, you guys, is the actual impact of this news on Ayurcann's value chain. So we covered this in the deep dive analysis. You can see here they're really focused on post-cultivation activity. So everything from extraction, the formulation, purification, product manufacturing. So here's where the CPG component really comes in. Fulfillment or distribution, packaging, and then the branding itself. Now, what this e-commerce platform really does is start expanding this value chain into the medical retail space. And I can see expansion into the recreational e-commerce space as a future development down the road. So by doing this, you guys, and adding that e-commerce retail platform, they're now really covering all aspects of the value chain outside of cultivation. Now, for those of you who watch the channel on a consistent basis, you know that I'm kind of turned off right now by the cultivation space itself. I think it's very competitive. I think the margins are going to continue to be pushed down. We're seeing the average sale price per gram continue to drop here in Canada and in the US. And I expect that trend to continue as US federal legalization comes into play. So for companies like this that are focused on post-cultivation, I think that's going to be a big catalyst because they're going to be able to acquire or curate a lot of the input dried flower product at a discounted rate, which is actually going to improve their margins over the long run here. Now, another thing that was super interesting, you guys, and I wanted to call your attention to, in the last video, we talked about Fundamental Research Corp actually initiating coverage on Ayurcann. They gave us 71-cent price target. We talked about this document in detail in that last video, so I'd highly encourage you to take a look. But this is why these research reports and analyst reports are so important. Now, if you scroll down here, you guys, there was a ton of detail given about revenue, their facility, the different products that were available, all kind of the standard stuff here that you would expect from a research firm. But one thing I wanted to point out was actually on the bottom of page 4, and they specifically called out this Ayurcann marketplace in this research report from July 6th. So if you were paying close attention to this, we did bring this up briefly in the last video. You could have had an early warning or an early indicator that this was coming down the pipe. Now in this note or paragraph, they directly called out the company Ayurcann also runs an e-commerce website through which it provides pharma-grade medical MJ products directly to their patients. However, they did say this platform has yet to start generating meaningful revenues. And this was a great tip-off or hint, in my personal opinion, that this Ayurcann marketplace was very close to coming to fruition. Now, the other thing they talk about here is their joint venture or partnership with the Basilette Group. Now, this is one of the top MJ companies operating in Israel, and they're really looking to bring their suite of products to the Canadian market. So that's another point that really gets me excited about this Ayurcann marketplace, is they've already got a lot of these relationships in place to really expand their SKU count and the number and types of products available on this platform immediately. Now, for those of you who are unaware, we didn't cover this in much detail in the last video. The Basilette Group is the largest medical MJ company in Israel. They're currently serving about 9,000 patients per month, which represents nearly half of all the licensed users in Israel. Now, in terms of the details here, the company processes MJ that's grown in 4 out of the 8 legal farms in Israel. So half of the farms actually producing product are sending it to the Basilette Group. Their product lineup includes MJ buds in seal barcoded packages, flour that's pre-ground, MJ cigarettes, MJ extracts, vape tablets, quick release capsules, topicals, and suppositories. So they've got a very wide lineup of SKUs already in production, and I could see these products quickly making their way onto the Ayurcann marketplace platform. And this is just another look at their product lineup. So they've got the buds here, you can see in the sealed bags. They've got the pre-ground MJ, so this is fairly unique. I haven't really seen this with a lot of other companies in this space. They've got the pre-rolls here with the capacity to manufacture 2 million individual pre-rolls each and every month. They've got the MJ oils, and then a number of other products that we just talked about on that last slide. So we've talked about the big news here, you guys. We've looked at the marketplace platform. We've talked about some of the synergies and existing partnerships that I think is really going to allow Ayurcann to expand their product lineup in a meaningful way immediately. The other thing I wanted to mention here is in regards to the number of shares outstanding for this company. Now, we did look at this in the last video here, you guys, but I think this is super important because I feel like when Ayurcann starts to get some traction with the retail investment community, the share price is going to take off in a huge way for this reason that we're going to talk about next. So this company currently has about 119 million shares outstanding on a fully diluted basis. So that includes warrants and options that are currently outstanding on this company. Now, if you look here, we talked about this on the last video as well, but 45% of these shares are actually held by insiders, primarily the CEO and the COO of the company, which collectively own about 44-45% of the entire float. Now, in addition to that, this actually was brought to me by one of my viewers. You can see in the comment section of my last Ayurcann video, which we put out on August 3rd, one of my subscribers, Maxwell Smart, actually mentioned that another company here in Canada, Weed Me Inc., currently holds about 16% of the Ayurcann float on a partially diluted basis. Now, this is why I'm so happy with the YouTube platform, you guys, because you really do get this community involvement and interaction. And this is what allows retail investors to get the edge on Wall Street, because we can talk and discuss ideas like this in real time and make decisions at a much faster pace than some of the big investment banks are able to do. So I'd encourage you guys to take a look at these comments. I really appreciate Maxwell Smart reaching out and discussing this with me in the comment section of this last video. So I looked into this a little bit. WeedMe is actually a premium craft MJ producer here in Ontario, Canada. They offer a wide array of product types and variant options of dry flower, pre-roll, etc. If we click on the company website, you can see some of the WeedMe products mentioned. So the dried flower here, they've got the pre-rolls, they've got the vapes, they've got the seeds, which is again quite a unique offering. And what I think is so cool here is very similar to the Basilette Group, but this is a pre-existing relationship, and I would be surprised if we didn't start to see some of these products from these other companies making their way onto the marketplace in coming quarters. So I think this, again, is a big value add for Ayurcann shareholders, because they've already got this network of companies and relationships that they can leverage to expedite the SKU count process. And as I did my digging on this piece of information provided in the comment section, I found an article dating back to 2019, and it actually talks about WeedMe making a number of strategic investments. As an example, WeedMe has entered into an agreement under which it will provide its expertise to XTRX Solutions, which is a division of Ayurcann Inc. And in exchange for this assistance, WeedMe has received a 20% stake in this subsidiary of Ayurcann. So I think this is really what Maxwell is talking about in that comment that he posted on my last video. But again, back to my initial point about total shares outstanding, if insiders currently own 45% and we have other players in the MJ space that also have large stakes in Ayurcann, it really reduces that overall float count. And this was exactly what I was talking about. So 119 million shares total, 45% of that is owned by insiders, so that's about 54 million shares. If we assume WeedMe owns about 16% of the float, that's an additional 19 million shares. That only leaves 46 million shares total for other investors to buy up in Ayurcann. Now, if we actually remove the options and the warrants, that float gets down to 28 million shares available. And that's exactly why I could see this company's share price taking off substantially. When they start to get some traction with the investment community, they continue to put out great revenue, great earnings, and big news releases like this, it's only going to take a few big buyers to really propel this share price up close to that target price from the analyst we saw at Fundamental Research. Now, to close things out here, you guys, there was two other pieces of information that I wanted to share, again, from that research report. So number one, they're expecting 2023 earnings per share to come in at 5 cents. So considering this company is trading in the low 20-cent range, they're only trading right now at about 4 times expected 2023 earnings. If you fast forward to 2025, they're expecting 10 cents per share earnings. So we're trading at only 2.5 times expected earnings only a few years out from now. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention is how Ayurcann stacks up to some of the competition in this space. So again, we mentioned Phyto Extraction, the Valence Company, Neptune Labs as some of the main direct competitors. Now, if we're looking at enterprise value to revenue, these are based on fiscal year 2022 revenue forecast. Ayurcann is actually trading at a 1.4 times multiple compared to the Valence Company, which is trading at 7.2. You guys know I'm extremely bullish on Valence, but in terms of this chart, it definitely looks like Ayurcann is a better value for your money at this point in time. Neptune is trading at a 3.9 times multiple. Labs is trading at a 2.7 times. Now, obviously, a lot can change in the next couple of quarters or years between these companies, but it's super encouraging to see Ayurcann trading at such a low enterprise value to forecasted revenue. and that's really where they get that fair value share price in the low 70-cent range for this company. So that's it for today's video, you guys. As mentioned, we just did a deep dive analysis on Ayurcann this week on the channel, so check it out. They had massive news today with the launch of their Ayurcann marketplace, which really propels them into that e-commerce space that I think is so attractive and so coveted here in Canada. They've got a great network of pre-existing relationships in the industry that are really going to allow them to add SKUs and products to this platform in a meaningful way, which I think is crucial for any e-commerce or brick and mortar locations in order to keep customers returning and attract new clients. They've got a massive percentage of their shares that are tied up with insiders and other companies that have invested in Ayurcann. And finally, you guys, their earnings and enterprise value to revenue ratio look very attractive over the next couple of years compared to their peers, making this one of my top picks in this space. Now, as mentioned in the last video, I had this on the top of my watch list. I've since entered a position in Ayurcann, so I've picked up 7,500 shares at an average price of 23 cents. I'm going to continue adding to this position, and as mentioned, likely going to move some money I have in the Valens company over to Ayurcann to really diversify my position in the extraction space. I'm super bullish on this sector overall, and I think Ayurcann really can be the next up-and-comer to turn into a massive company in this space. So thanks so much for watching, you guys. If you're still here at this point in the video, please make sure you smash that like button. It really helps get this content to other people like yourself who might find value. If you're not subscribed to the channel itself, McNallie Money, feel free to do so. Let me know in the comment section below what you think of this news release, Ayurcann as a company overall, and if you're currently holding shares. And finally, you guys, have a great rest of your day.